Hey everybody, it's Greg Martin here. Strap on in and put on your big boy pants. It's time to listen to Pop Goes Your World with Derek Myers and Chris McBrien.
If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes. And while you're there, please leave us a rating and review.
And now it's time for our feature presentation.
I'm Chris McBrien, and the pop culture from Generation X is everything to me.
And I'm Derek Myers, and I'm here to educate Chris on the great pop culture of today's generation.
Episode 359, Slapshot Movie Review. I'm Chris McBrien along with Derek Myers, and this is Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations. This week, Derek and I are going all the way back to 1977 to review the hockey classic Slapshot, starring Paul Newman and directed by George Roy Hill. But before we get to our movie, Derek, what pop culture have you been able to take in recently, my friend?
Hey, Chris. I had a chance to watch a couple of things this week.
Okay.
I'll start with the old and then move to the new. So recently on one of the cable channels, we recorded the film Olympus Has Fallen from 2013. Do you know of this film? Does it sound familiar to you?
I do not, shockingly.
So there were, like has often happened in pop culture, you'll sometimes have two similar movies come out in a very short period of time. Like you had Deep Impact and Armageddon. Both came out like within 6 month of each other. You had Truman Show and Ed TV. Yeah. Both came out within like 6 months of each other. So
I remember in the 80s too, there was like, people change identities. There was like father, like son, and 18 again.
Yeah. Exactly. And it happens a lot. And that might actually be a good topic for a future podcast. Yeah. Anyway, so in 2013, they had two movies that were basically about the president of the United States, who, of course, was a badass, and a Secret Service agent who was an equal badass. And something bad happened where there was some sort of problem at the White House and there was a terrorist, this and that. And one of them was called Olympus Has Fallen. And it stars Aaron Eckhart as the badass president and Gerard Butler as the Secret Service agent, and directed by Antoine Fuqua, who directed Training Day. Like, this guy knows how to make a movie. Right. Anyway, it was a fun movie, and it actually spawned two sequels. They had Olympus Has Fallen. I think the other one was called Angel Has Fallen and London Has Fallen. And they got, crazier and crazier with each one. But obviously it was a formula they felt worked, so they liked these characters. But anyway, Olympus Has Fallen is the first one, but all three were on cable 3 nights in a row. So my wife and I were like, let's record these. So we had a chance to watch Olympus Has Fallen. It is your typical 2000s action movie. Just sort of turn off your brain. Don't question it too hard. Have fun. The American president is a badass who kicks ass, who, has a Secret Service agent who, believes in him above all else. And, America, wave the flag, stomp your feet. We're the greatest. We can fight off any problem, foreign or domestic. It's all of those things. It's your typical, July 4th, we're the greatest kind of movie. It's just a fun action movie. Anyway, so we watched it again and we were like, you know what? That actually kind of held up pretty well for what it is. It was kind of fun. I know the other two are going to be a little bit of a disappointment, but we haven't had a chance to watch those ones yet. So that was our first one we watched. Then we got two newer ones. So just dropped on Crave or HBO or Amazon, one of those streamers in the last couple of weeks, is a movie called The Bride with an exclamation point at the end of it. And it's basically like, it's supposed to be The Bride of Frankenstein. And it stars Jessie Buckley, who just won the Oscar in 2026 for Hamnet, and Christian Bale. And it's written and directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. And it was like getting all this praise, of critical praise. Oh my God, it's so great. My wife and I started watching this. We're about 20 to 25 minutes in. We're looking at each other going, man, this movie is garbage. And we're like, do you want to finish watching this? She's like, I wanted to finish watching it 10 minutes ago. I'm like, I really wanted it to get better. Like, I like Christian Bale and he's in some good stuff, but I was just like, maybe I just don't get where it's going, but it was long and slow and like weird. And I was just like, it's getting all these good reviews. We should keep watching. She's like, no, if you want to keep watching it, you do it on your own. I'm out. No, more I thought about it, I'm like, I'm not giving up 2 hours of my life. So while The Bride, pardon me, exclamation point, The Bride, because it's got an exclamation point.
Of course.
While it may be a great movie, I did not get that impression, and I couldn't get more than about 25 minutes into it. So that's a pass for me. Thumbs down. Maybe I'm harsh because I never actually finished the movie, but if you can't get my attention in 25 minutes, I'm sorry. I got so many other things. I got the sequel to Olympus Has Fallen on deck. Like, come on. Anyway, the third movie, we actually got out to the movie theater this week, and we saw the latest Star Wars movie, which is called The Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, Chris, you watched some of the Mandalorian TV series, right?
Yeah, my son was watching it, and I watched a bit of it too. It was a little bit slick, I'm like old school Star Wars, but I thought it was pretty good in places. The thing I liked, I remember IG-88 was pretty cool in it, and he was there was some good stuff. It was pretty good. How was the movie?
Yeah, the movie was good, okay/good. It's by no means going to make my top 3 best Star Wars movies of all time, but it was definitely not at the bottom of the list. It very much felt like the TV show. If you're watching the series,
bottom of the list is episode 1, The Phantom Menace, I'm assuming.
Oh, it's definitely down in the top 3, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Anyway, this one is sort of like right in the middle. It very much felt like just 2 or 3 episodes of the TV show slapped together with some additional money spent on some special effects, some additional money spent on some guest stars. There are some very recognizable performers in this who are making their debut in this Star Wars franchise. They also have some guest spots and small appearances from other performers that have appeared in the TV series as a lot of sort of like wink winks or homage. And a little bit of a spoiler, my friend Paul Seung-Hung Lee does make an appearance in this movie.
Oh,
so
nice.
Congratulations to Paulie for having a small part. He's, again, he plays, what's the guy's name? Carson Teva, I think's character's name, who was an X-Wing pilot. So sure enough, he's in this providing X-Wing support.
One of your best friends in the world is like part of the Star Wars canon. That's so cool.
Yeah,
that is
and
so
I have...
cool.
For Christmas, I got the action. He has an officially licensed official action figure, and it's right here next to my desk. It's like awesome. It blows my mind that a guy who I've been friends with all these years is a part of the Star Wars universe and has his own action figure. It's just awesome. So anyway, Mandalorian and Grogu, I would say it's probably like a C+, B-. You're gonna have a good time if you're a Star Wars fan. If you're a fan of the show, I think it runs like 2 hours and 10 minutes. It was longer than I expected it to be. And if you're, a fan of the Baby Yoda, like it looks good. They do a good job because I'm pretty sure they use a puppet for a lot of it. It's not like it's not just CG animation.
I heard that too.
And it looks good. I don't feel it looks nearly as good as actual Yoda from Empire, but I don't think that's really what they've ever been going for. Mm-hmm. But no, it was fine. And again, I didn't realize the movie was written and directed by Jon Favreau, who I know conceived of the original show and wrote and directed a lot of the episodes in the first season, including the pilot. So again, Favreau's got sort of a blank check with me. He's done a lot of good stuff over the years between his connection to The Mandalorian and his connection to Iron Man, his connection, he did Elf, like even as far back as Swingers, like, he's had very few missteps along the way. I've been a big fan of his work, and if his name's on it, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. So yeah, I didn't mind dropping $10 or $15 or whatever it was to go see this one in the theater. It was good. I mean, if you're a big fan, see it in the theater. If you're just sort of I'll see it when I see it, it'll be on Disney before you know it. So
there you go.
Anyway, those are the things. I did also want to mention.
Yes.
That I'm on social media today, and sometimes they'll say like, here's a post from 5 years ago, just to remind you of things you used to do that you now don't anymore. And I got one that said, on this day, 9 years ago in 2017, Chris and Derek went to Casino-Rama to see ZZ Top perform live.
Oh, yes, that's right.
There you go. It was exactly 9 years ago to the day that you and I had a chance to share that experience. So
that's right. I remember that was before you joined the podcast. We went and saw that. I always wanted to see ZZ Top, and then I got to fulfill that. So I'm glad that we did that together. And speaking of music, my pop culture thing this week is music related as well, which is a little rare for me, I guess. But I wanted to give a shout out to our good friend Kurt Kalin. So he's in the band Magic Mountains, and they're dropping their new song Sometimes this week. So I wanted to give them a shout. You can find them on Spotify. And again, the song's called Sometimes, and you should give it a listen. So they're an alternative rock band, and they actually formed during the pandemic. And the members are from Alberta and Saskatchewan. They're from out west. The band, they seem to be like influenced by like 90s arena rock acts, like Radiohead, Oasis, that kind of thing. And they released their 5-song EP, True Romance, in 2022. And Derek, if you remember, we debuted their song Bitter Lullaby here on the podcast back in 2022 before it dropped. So
we're here to support our friends.
Of course. And our friends are Brent on drums, Kurt Kalin on guitar, Stu on vocals, and Adam on bass. So I want to give a big shout out to Kurt Kalin and Magic Mountains on their new song drop. So make sure you check out Sometimes from Magic Mountains on Spotify. Make sure you do that. And I also have this.
Here's your dad joke of the week.
Derek, as you know, most bees make honey. But do you know what kind of bees make milk?
Jeez, I have no idea, and I'm kind of afraid to find out.
Boobies.
Well, those are the bees I like the most. Oh my God, he's so hot. No, he's so sexy. And
Raiders of the Lost.
How many times did you watch that before you finally went and looked for the Russell Crowe version?
I'm really impressed.
It's not as good as John Wick, don't get me wrong.
This movie was fantastic.
And I do believe Scorsese might have had his hand in that one.
He might have in more ways than one.
And then you couldn't, and then you could, and then you couldn't.
Beep, 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 beep.
E.T. the extra.
All right, Derek, you and I are Canadian, and the Stanley Cup playoffs are on, so I thought it would be only appropriate that we go back to 1977 and watch Slapshot. And so my question is, right off the top, is Slapshot the greatest hockey movie ever made? What do you think?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm also going to make that a qualified yes in that there are really not that many decent hockey movies out there. There are not many hockey movies, period. But there are not many that I would call decent, and there are even fewer I would even call good. So to say this is the best, I think there's no arguing that. I would think the only argument you might have is from people younger than us, where the Mighty Ducks were their introduction to hockey movies. Those people who feel that is their favorite hockey movie might argue with us, but they'd be wrong. Slapshot is the best one.
Yeah, there's not a lot of competition. I remember that we watched the Mighty Ducks with Robbie Rose. We brought him on the show here and we watched it. I'd never seen the Mighty Ducks before that. I didn't like it. I didn't thought it was that great. And it had some sequels. There was Youngblood, Goon. That was started.
Goon was pretty good.
My buddy Liam Card is in that movie. There was also Miracle. That one was pretty good. And
that one's a biopic. That was sort of, I wouldn't, while it definitely is a hockey movie, it's like, eh.
And then Mystery Alaska was another one. But I guess another question.
Which I really like that one. Yeah.
Another question I got for you. Like, how did this movie that came out in 1977 to mixed reviews, how did it become a cult classic? You just watched it, for the first time in probably years, I'm assuming this week.
Many years.
Yeah. So what was your take on watching after all this time?
So I've only ever seen the movie start to finish, like maybe 4 or 5 times, which, as a Canadian who enjoys hockey, that's kind of sacrilegious, I know. I have definitely seen segments of it a lot. They when you go to see professional hockey games, they often when they cut to commercial, they'll show little clips on the screen, and often they'll show some of the clips from Slapshot. So obviously I'm very familiar with the movie. But it was fun to go back and revisit it this week to know that I'm going to sit down and watch it from the very beginning to the very end and get it as a whole package. So it was fun to go back and do that. But yeah, to your point about why don't we see more hockey movies? How did this become such a big deal? I think partly because we don't have many other things to compare it to, that, it's sort of in a class of its own. I think the Paul Newman factor is a big deal. People who maybe aren't huge hockey fans, or maybe even people from, say, the Southern U.S., where hockey has only in the last 10 years become more of a big deal. Paul Newman's in your movie. A lot of people are like, sure, I'll go see what this is. And honestly, it holds up well. It is funny. It has a lot of, there's some things in there that are a little problematic by today's standards, but it is really good. It really holds up. And I think the fact that it's actually a good movie, it's not just, while the hockey is a big part of it, you really get to establish who these characters are. And I think that really, really helps sort of elevate it and keep it elevated.
So a quick synopsis of the film, okay? I've got this. In a dying factory town, player coach Reggie Dunlop leads the struggling Charlestown Chiefs hockey team. When attendance collapses and the town's economy crumbles, the team embraces increasingly violent hockey as a way to entertain fans and save itself. And that's really what the movie is all about. But the thing that is interesting about this movie is because like it's about hockey. Obviously, that's a very Canadian thing. But even though it's a Canadian sport, and I think in the years that have commenced, over the last 50 years that it's been out, Canadians embrace this movie. It is a strongly American film.
Yes.
This is about America, the heart
Small
of this
town,
film. Yes.
blue collar America. Yeah, no question.
Especially in the mid 70s, like with the economic decline and all the factory closures and the working class frustration. It also really kind of fed into there was a little bit of a rise of anti-establishment movies after this, like things like 9 to 5 and They Live. And then into the 90s, even with Office Space and Fight Club and stuff. And this was one of the first ones. And so then really when you think about it's a movie about the soul of America, really. So why hockey? Like, why is hockey the venue for it? That's what I really thought about. But I think it's hockey's reputation for violence. I think minor league hockey is not, it's a rough and tumble world, right? And also hockey is both sport and spectacle. So I think it's like the perfect sport to convey this theme. So I guess the question I have is, would this movie work if it was about baseball or football?
No, I mean, it probably could. You'd need to really figure out a way to make it work. But I think to echo what you've been saying, part of the reason I think hockey works so well is hockey is the only professional sport that I'm aware of where you can actively change players while the sport is happening. Like, you have line changes and the game is still going. Any other sport, you want to change a player, you have to wait for the play to stop, whether it's basketball or soccer or baseball. Like, you can't have a guy running from first to second and midway have a different guy start running. Like, hockey's the only sport where you have that continuous nonstop action. And to your point, hockey is also a sport where the violence is a part of it. It is a violent sport. I mean, small v violent. I mean, you could argue the same with football. Like, guys are banging their heads against each other. That's violent to a certain extent as well. But a whole part of hockey is the combative nature of it. The fact that players can and often do get into one-on-one literal fist fights with each other as a part of the game. And there is a certain latitude that's allowed depending on the circumstance and the team and the players and the refs and all of that stuff. I mean, obviously, this movie really elevates that to sort of what if you take that to the nth degree, which I think is part of what a lot of people enjoy about this movie is it's that, I've always wanted my favorite team to do something like this. And you watch this movie and go, yeah, maybe I don't. Maybe I think I want that, but no, I think it's probably just fine the way it is. Thank you.
No other sport where you could just like take off your helmet, drop your gloves and just start fighting and then just you get a penalty for it. But it's not like you're not kicked out of the game or something. In basketball, if you just started beating on each other, you'd probably be kicked out of the game. Same thing in baseball too.
Baseball, you get those bench clearing brawls and stuff.
But if there's guys fighting, they'll probably boot them out. But in hockey, it's part of the game. One thing is though, I've noticed, so back in our day, Derek, there were certain goons that would fight each other and stuff like that, and these guys would go toe to toe. Now, there still is fighting in hockey, but the guys leave their helmets on.
Yeah, it's a penalty if you take off your own helmet.
What the living hell is that? If
it's a safety thing, right? No, the league, the attitudes have changed.
But it's
for players.
Stupid. Then why is there fighting? Like, so all we're gonna do is you and I are gonna go out there. We're gonna drop our gloves at center ice, and I'm gonna punch your helmet and break my knuckles, and you're gonna punch my helmet and break your knuckles. That's not a fight. It should be like mutual. The two guys are gonna square off. Their helmets come off, their gloves come off, and they fight. That's the way it's supposed to be.
And that does happen. Again, you do see this occasionally where if the players know they're going to fight, there'll be a discussion that we, the audience, aren't necessarily privy to where the fight starts and they both take off their own helmet because then they're both getting penalized equally. Where what happened the first year they put this rule into play is that happened a lot. And then you had some players take advantage of it where they agreed, I'm going to take my helmet off. As soon as the other guy did, they backed off and that guy got a penalty for taking his helmet off and they got a power play. And they're like, okay, enough of that. So that's why in fights a lot of the time now, what you see is the two players start fighting and they like both try and rip the other guy's helmet off. And they don't really like the two combatants don't necessarily stop that from happening because to your point, if the whole idea of this fight is we're going to punch each other and get this aggression out and get our team motivated and get the fans pumped up, you can't have a quote, a hockey fight if you're punching the other guy in the helmet. Like, that's just stupid. You're going to cut up your hand, or you're going to hurt yourself, and you're not going to accomplish anything.
Yeah. And you're going to be able to help your team because you can't play anymore, the broken hand. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the cast. Paul Newman, obviously, Reggie Dunlop. Some pretty serious career highlights. If we look at like Cool Hand Luke and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting, The Color of Money, we're talking about an Academy Award winner and multiple Oscar nominations. He was nominated for Best Actor for Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, The Hustler, HUD, Cool Hand Luke. He was nominated for Best Picture for Rachel Weiszell as a producer. Best Actor again for Absence of Malice and The Verdict.
I was going to say, had to be for The Verdict. I watched that recently. It is so good.
And then he was nominated and won his only Oscar for The Color of Money for Best Actor. Was also nominated again in 95 for Best Actor for Nobody's Fool. And then finally for Best Supporting Actor in 2003 for Road to Perdition. So one of Hollywood's, all-time most respected stars. I think most fans consider Reggie Dunlop to be one of Newman's funniest performances. But I'm looking at all this, and this is an accomplished actor. I think it might be one of his best overall performances.
Yeah, he's on record saying this is the movie he had the most fun making. And he repeated that in press conference. Like, I read it in multiple places where he said this is the movie he liked the most, where he had the most fun making it. He just enjoyed it the most. And I think you can speak to this better than I can, but I would imagine if you're a performer, the more you enjoy this, like if you're in a play, for example, you got to keep doing it over and over again. If you really enjoy what you're doing, if you can just, into the character and all that, you're going to do a better job. And it really, to me, comes across in his performance that you can tell as an actor, he clearly is having a good time. And that comes across in the performance. You can totally relate to this character.
And it really does embody the American dream in so many ways, his performance. Like, he's all about, like, this working class hero stuff and trying to get ahead and try to be, to fulfill the American dream, but ultimately not achieving it. And even at the end of the movie, he's still clinging on to that American dream of, like, fame and fortune and, success. And even his wife, he's not going to get it. I think his performance is so good on so many levels. Also want to mention Michael Onkeen. He played Ned Braden. He's Canadian, born in Vancouver. Then he went to the University of New Hampshire on a hockey scholarship. Of course.
I was going to say that's how come he could skate so well. Yeah. He's Canadian.
And then he got down there and decided, I want to pursue an acting career. So he did. And he did quite a bit. He was in The Rookies on TV from 72 to 76 with Kate Jackson. He was in Making Love, the movie, also with Kate Jackson, and Twin Peaks. And then did a couple of small TV movies. His last credit was the 2011 movie The Descendants. He probably...
with George Clooney?
Yeah, he probably only appeared in the movie because he lives in Hawaii, where they shot it.
Oh, okay.
So there's that. But I think he's an important character in this movie because his character serves as the film's conscience. It really is. It's almost like the bridge between old school hockey and sort of professionalism in hockey. So yeah, I thought his performance was quite good. I liked him in this. Thought he was good. Mm-hmm. We got to mention the Hanson brothers, who is actually Steve Carlson, Jeff Carlson, and David Hanson. They just became legends. And there's a lot of reasons probably why. These guys were real hockey players. They're instantly recognizable with those thick glasses and their behavior and this extreme violence. They were almost like Looney Tunes characters inserted into this like realistic movie, like most of the hockey players in the world, they worry about things like contracts. They worry about their careers and, maybe attendance of the fans. These guys, the Hansons, they just want to hit people. They like comic books and they put foil on their hands. It's so funny. And then they just became instantly a hit with audiences, probably because they're unpredictable and they're childlike and they're dangerous, but they're completely authentic too. So do you think the Hanson brothers are the most iconic sports movie side characters of all time?
They're definitely up there. I mean, they're
gotta be.
For years after this movie, they were cashing checks going to conventions and stuff. Like, how often does that happen in other sports movies? Like, not very often. Again, it could be a Canadian thing, could be a hockey thing, but like you get them at like pop culture shows and they'd show up and like people would lose their mind. Even to this day, they were like, you know, you still occasionally see one or all of them. I mean, I don't know if all three of them are still alive, but you get at least one of them will show up. And like, that's one of the quote unquote celebrities that's there that you can get photos with or get autographs with and stuff. People still want to do that. And even when you go to like the Leafs games and stuff, I must see at least 2 or 3 Chiefs jerseys at every live hockey game I've ever been to in Toronto. Like, it's a thing. Like, and it's not just people our age. Like, you see a lot of younger people. Like, this movie, because there are not a lot of other hockey movies that are like serious movies in the sense that like that the sports is an important and serious part of it, realistic, if you will. I think that as younger people start to get into hockey, this movie becomes a part of their nomenclature as well, things that they become familiar with, and people just latch onto it. So yeah, I think these characters are great. And while they may at first sort of seem like, oh, well, they're just, you know, these 3 goons that go there do this thing, they are memorable. Like they are developed as characters in the movie, and you really get a sense of like who they are. It's good. It's a lot of fun. Some of the funniest parts and the most exciting and interesting parts they are in.
I agree. Stephen Jeff Carlson, who played Stephen Jeff Hansen, they were real life hockey players, and they actually wore those black horn rim glasses on the ice. And their third brother, Jack Carlson, was supposed to be in the movie with them, but he got called up to the World Hockey Association playoffs. So they brought another real life hockey player, Dave Hansen, in, and they decided to just change the name and go with the Hansons. And so that's what they did. So it was really, really, really good. Yeah, because like I say, what other side characters in sport movies are there? There's been some, like in Major League, there's like Serrano and Willie Mays Hayes and stuff. And Bull Durham had like Robert Wool's character was good, and Jimmy and Bobby. Bad News Bears had Kelly Leak and Tanner, but nothing like the Hanson brothers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so some of the other supporting cast I want to mention. Strother Martin, who played the GM of the Chiefs, known for Cool Hand Luke and Rooster Coburn and True Grit, one of the best character actors probably of his era. Melinda Dillon, got to mention her, known for Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Christmas Story, and she was great at this. And even M. Emmett Walsh was a sports writer. Dickie Dunn.
Yeah.
Dickie Dunn wrote It Must Be True. and he's known for so many things like Blade Runner and Blood Simple, and Fletch is what I remember him from.
Yeah.
And even the jerk, remember, he was like, he hates these cans.
He hates these cans, yeah.
So good. I think we should also mention the creative team of this movie. So there's a director, George Roy Hill. And I think he's important here because before this, he directed Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which was nominated for Best Picture and Best Director. And The Sting, which won Best Picture and won Best Director. So both of those major Academy Award winners, huge box office successes. So how does this director, who's known for these polished Hollywood classics, end up making a crude, profane hockey comedy? You know, it's incredible. Like he brought a lot of gravitas, I think, to this project, clearly, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the screenwriter, Nancy Dowd, is like the secret weapon of this whole thing, because the screenplay is based on the experiences of her brother, who is former hockey player Ned Dowd. And apparently she just immersed herself in this minor league hockey culture and went in and got real stories and based on her personalities and locker room conversations. She put it all in the script. And the movie feels authentic, I think, because it comes from real life. So I think the director and the screenwriter were really, really important in making this movie sort of grounded in reality.
Well, and I think the fact that the writer is a woman too brings a certain perspective to it. The combination of just having the firsthand interviews and the anecdotes from people who have lived this type of an experience help tremendously. But I think you can't really undersell the importance of the fact that it's a female writer who is going to bring to this script something different than a male writer would, especially in the 70s. And then a couple years later, she goes on to win the Academy Award for screenplay for the movie Coming Home, which, I mean, that's a huge deal. And then I'm just looking at the rest of her IMDb. She was a writer on like Ordinary People and White Nights, like a couple other movies that were like she has a bunch of credits, but like some very critically successful movies. So she clearly had a good career and was quite talented because she worked on a lot of like big important movies that were well respected.
So some of the themes in this film, like there's so much going on thematically, I feel. First, violence as entertainment is obviously at the forefront. Because you really, like, do fans want sport or do they want spectacle? I think you could argue they want spectacle. And even back in the 70s, they realized this because as we come into today, like with stuff like MMA and UFC and stuff like that, like that's what people are embracing, and even then they kind of recognize that. Another theme that I thought was important was the economic decline. That we kind of mentioned.
Very much.
The town itself is like a character in this film. You talk about the factory closures and the job losses and sort of like the identity of the community. And it's almost like the hockey team becomes a distraction from all of that stuff, So I think that theme's playing. I also think an important theme is selling out. Because like Reggie's character understands something I think that everyone else misses, that winning's not enough. You have to entertain, and I wondered like if his character, do you think he was like this visionary marketer or just an opportunist?
I think definitely an opportunist. Yeah. I think it's sort of he had the right idea, the right place, the right time, put the pieces together and thought this could work. And then it continued to escalate. And then towards the end of the movie, you can see him having a lot of regrets. Like, man, did I take this too far? Like, am I ruining the lives of my colleagues and the players and all the rest of that? And he has this sort of, crisis of conscience once he realizes it's like, taking this too far. We need to back up. I need to try and come clean. I need to be honest. But I mean, in typical Hollywood fashion, a lot of things end up working out pretty well for all the characters involved. Yep. So no notes, man. That worked great.
I think another major theme that runs through this movie is masculinity. It examines
very
like
much
toughness and ego and competition. But the thing is, it almost like mocks all of that too.
To a certain extent, yeah, for sure. And you got to remember, like, this is the 70s. It's part of the sexual revolution, and like you're not that far out of the late 60s, and so you're getting this whole free love era, and it's like, okay. And even a couple of characters mentioned, they're like, oh, I'm progressive. I think one of the times where they were talking about either lesbianism or I think it might have been when Paul Newman was talking to the coach and he talked about how he was, or the owner rather. I think the owner was supposed to be gay, which I only picked up on this viewing. And he's like, remember that time you hit on me? And he's like, I don't care. He's like, I'm a liberated man, and it is what it is. People do what they want. And it's like, whether or not he was sincere about it, it's an important thing to be said in a movie that came out in 1977.
Right. And like, just going back to what I said before, it's so realistic. And I think one of the reasons why it's very realistic is a lot of the players in this movie were real hockey players. We mentioned the Hansons, they were real. And so with Nancy Dowd's brother, Ned Dowd, he played Ogie Oglethorpe. So he was...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So he was in that, and he played for the Johnstown Jets. I think they're the team that sort of inspired this team.
Oh, okay.
Ronald Dawkin was the backup goalie for the Johnstown Jets at the time that they filmed this movie. Paul D'Amato, he was the one that played Dr. Hook. He was also a pro hockey player. And Paul Newman's stunt double was in this movie was Rod Bloomfield. And he was a hockey player as well. So again, it just led to that kind of realistic feel of the film. And the movie was shot in and around Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. It just brought out the local flavor. So again, I just think a lot of the people that were involved wanted to make it very realistic, and they did that. And it almost felt improvisational at times. It was kind of loose and spontaneous, Well,
and I like that so many of the performers could skate. Maybe not to professional hockey levels. But like I one of the things that really impressed me on this viewing is how good the hockey scenes actually are. And in many cases, it doesn't look like, or I didn't really get the impression that they were trying to shoot around the fact that people couldn't skate. Like if they made this movie today and they put, Brad Pitt in the Paul Newman role, no knock on Brad Pitt, but I'd be shocked if he could skate. And so it's like, I don't think they would feel that was a hindrance. They would be like, okay, we'll do shots of him from the waist up. And then when we need to show him skating around, we'll have a stunt double wearing his jersey number. And when they do that with a big star, you can really tell. And it just didn't seem like that was happening here at all. And in many cases, you could see Paul Newman skating around. And I was reading in the trivia, that's what they said. They're like, could Paul Newman actually skate? And they're like, yeah. I mean, he maybe not the world's greatest skater, but they're like, he was able to do it well enough that they could shoot his scenes in the movie and they could like show him actually full body skating around on the ice in a way that didn't look ridiculous. Meanwhile, like you said, almost everybody else who's out there had a hockey background, so of course they could skate. So again, I think that just adds to the professionalism of the movie and why it's been able to hold up and endure. If the hockey scenes weren't good, if they looked phony baloney and you could tell that people weren't really skating, I don't think the movie would be as popular as it is.
I agree. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the box office and the reception of this movie. So it had the budget of $6 million, took in about $28 million domestically. And that's pretty respectable, I would say, for a rough sports
for a hockey movie for
in
sure.
1977. So in 1977, Derek, what was the number one film at the box office? Any guesses?
Well, I mean, it had to be Star Wars.
Of course, it was Star Wars,
followed by Smokey and the Bandit.
And so it was Star Wars, The Deep, The Spy Who Loved Me, Oh God, and The Exorcist II: The Heretic. Smokey and the Bandit, I think, made most of its money the next year.
Oh, maybe that's. I thought I remembered it being number 2, only behind Star Wars, but maybe that was the next year.
Yeah. The number 6 was The Turning Point. Don't know what that is. Then Looking for Mr. Goodbar, Saturday Night Fever, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Saturday Night Fever would have made more, but it came out in December of that year, so it made its money the next year.
Right.
As well. And so the critical reception of this movie was pretty mixed when it came out. I don't think critics could determine if it was, glorifying violence or criticizing violence. And I feel like it did both, The thing is, like, home video helped build the audience in this movie, over time.
I definitely think that's helped it over the years for sure.
And hockey fans embracing it has helped it too, I think. And also the quotable dialogue probably really helped.
Oh, so many good lines and quotes from this. Some of them, it's like I'm watching going, oh yeah, I forgot that way.
What are some of your favorite quotes in it? I liked when he's like, old time hockey, like Eddie Shore.
Yeah.
That's what the Hanson brothers are saying. And it's like, it just embraces their simplistic view of hockey. And if you're not a big hockey fan, you have no idea who Eddie Shore is. Even in 1977, like some Americans might not know who it was. It's almost like just like hearkening back to the old days of hockey. Another quote I really liked was, I'm putting on the foil.
Yeah, that's an enduring one.
They deliver it like it's this perfectly normal piece of game preparation. And one of the best parts, I think, was they don't think they're doing anything unusual. Like, to them, hockey's fighting. Violence is part of hockey. Aluminum foil is just equipment. So it's so funny in that scene. I also, probably my favorite quotes from it, I'm listening to the song.
Oh my God. I love that. Every time when we're at the hockey game or any live performance where they're singing the national anthem, I chuckle because I just think of that line in that scene. It makes me laugh every time.
Oh man, it's like like I said before, they're almost like cartoon characters dropped into this movie. It's so funny, especially after all the violence. Like they're doing the pregame skate, and then all hell breaks loose. They just beat the tar out of everybody. There's no officials
out there, so there's no one to stop them.
and then he's just standing there, and there's blood running down his face, and the ref is like, if you try anything else, that's what he gives them that line. It's so funny. Yep. And another line I like in this movie is when he's like, hit him in the mind, man. It's like, instead of saying like, hit him in the head, or intimidate him or get in his head, it's no, hit him in the mind. I don't know. I always like that quote. Any quotes that you like in this movie?
I mean, there's a bunch. I like, it's going back to the Hanson brothers. You had a couple of the ones I liked, but even just when they first meet him, he's like, took my quarter, where they're like beating up the vending machine.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't get us any of that stinking root beer.
Like, you know, when you go for groceries, sometimes you got to put a coin in the cart so you can get the cart. Mm-hmm. And it's like, every time I have to do that, sometimes it's a quarter, sometimes a $1 coin. And it's like, when it's a quarter, it's like, took my damn quarter. I'm like banging on the carts. Just the whole opening scene with the goalie.
Oh, Denny Lemieux, his interview.
Yeah, where the announcers ask him about, like, he talks about, like, oh, you know, this is slashing and hooking and whatever, and he's like, it's against the rules.
It's like a comedy sketch disguised as a hockey rules explainer.
But I think that's perfect, because you got to assume in 77, if you're trying to mass market this movie to America, there's going to be a lot of venues where people don't know hockey at all. And while as a hockey person, I watch that scene and I think it's hilarious because it's accurate, but it's not necessarily, if you don't have the context, like when he talks about, like, against the rules, it's, you go by yourself for 2 minutes, you feel shame, and you're like, what? I don't understand. It's like, yeah, you get a 2-minute penalty. You got to go to the penalty box. Which is not exactly what he's saying, but if you know that's what he's supposed to mean, it makes perfect sense. Otherwise, you're like, what the hell is he talking about?
Yeah, because he starts it. He's like, because the guy asks him, like, explain icing. And he's like,
yeah,
icing happen when the puck come down, bang, my arm go comme ça, and the game stop and then start up.
Yeah.
He's explaining icing, but he's making it more confusing than the actual
And his
rule.
French accent doesn't help. I mean, it's funny. I mean, you don't want to laugh at him just because he's French, but that's part of the joke. And then same with the same guy when he goes to ask the coach, he's like, who owns the Chiefs? Owns the Chiefs. Owns the Chiefs. And then he comes down, Paul Newman's like, what did he say? He goes, owns the Chiefs. Owns. It's just so funny. Trade me right now. Hang up. Click.
Exactly. And then I also liked when he was talking like with the guy at the beginning there, and he's explaining high sticking and stuff, and he's like, you take the stick like this, and he actually does it to the guy.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, that's against the rules. You're stupid when you do that. There's some sick English pig with no brains, Like, again, I thought that was really good. And the spearing and all that. No, you go 2 box. 2 minutes by yourself, and you feel shame,
and feel shame.
And then you get free. Like, okay, so he's explaining the whole thing. And I think that's what hockey fans really like, is like his whole thing. Also, the quote when Dunlop's skating around Hanrahan, talking about his wife.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
my God, that was good. And then when Nick Brophy from the Hyena Sport Presidents, he's like, I'm drunk. Anybody throws me against the boards, I'm going to all over myself.
Yeah.
So of course, that's one of the parts of the movie when early on, when Reggie's like, I can exploit this. I can turn this into something, And like the trade me part you talked about. And then I also liked, it's not maybe one of the most memorable quotes, but it really stood out to me when he's like, you win, they're happy. You lose, they're happy. And I think that's an important quote because they realize like entertaining the fans is what matters, not success, Yeah. So I thought that quote really stood out to me. And Reggie Dunlop really kind of embodies that whole thing. He realizes it's not about hockey anymore. It's just about entertainment. And that's really the culmination of the movie, that's for sure. So, okay. So one thing that I did want to ask you was, has this movie, did it age like wine or milk? Obviously, it's been 50 years since this movie came out. So
49.
Yeah, okay. So what do you think has aged well? So some things that work for me. Paul Newman's performance. I think
fantastic.
The sort of satirical edge of this movie. Working class themes. I think the dialogue is good. I think the authenticity has all aged very, very well.
Yeah. Some
things, though, did not age so well. Like you mentioned, I think there's a lot of casual sexism in it.
Yeah, definitely. Some of the language that references around homosexuality and
the homophobic language. There's quite a
lot of homophobic language, things of that nature.
The R word is used to describe the Hansons
Oh yeah, they brought their toys. Yeah.
Just that whole 70s,
which I don't think is correct. Like I don't think that was ever the intent of these characters. I think the idea is they're just immature. Like, hell, I'm 50 and I play with toys. Not like that, but you know what I mean. I think different time, different place, different day. You know, young men, teenagers, early 20s that play with toys. Like clearly they're childish and immature, but at the same time, once the team starts doing well and there's the boosters and stuff, like it's clear that these guys like girls. Like they're adults. They want what adults want. So yeah, I don't think that you know, the way Paul Newman describes it initially, while is meant as a slur, I don't think is meant literally.
Yeah, and it really does embody sort of that 70s locker room culture. A lot of this humor would be rewritten today, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Another thing about this movie, I will say, right from the beginning, as soon as it starts out, it just looks like the 70s.
Oh my God. And my favorite part is the costumes, the outfits, the things Paul Newman wears. He's got that like dark brown jacket with that huge frilly like
that fur coat thing.
Like it's got like a fur lining around it. And then on the other part, he's wearing like this sort of reddish, dark beige, like leisure suit where it's the pants and the jacket. And I'm just, and he's got like sort of like bell bottoms. He's wearing platform shoes. And it's just like, oh my God, this is so 70s. And I just keep thinking to myself, that must be so uncomfortable. Like it is clearly fashion over function because people just want to look a certain way. And it's like, oh my God. But it's so of the time, but it's so perfect. And the sports announcer, same thing. He's wearing those like really loud plaid jackets and he's wearing red pants at one point. It's just like, oh my God, this is so collars. 70s.
Yeah.
But at the time, nobody, like everyone's like, that's just the style. And you look back, like, trust me, I grew up in the 80s and there was a lot of stupid things you look back and you go, wow, I can't believe it. But man, the 70s got the 80s beat when it comes to what were you thinking in the clothing department.
So is Slapshot this timeless classic that we think it is? Or does it require historical context to really appreciate it? Because
I think the context helps.
Yeah.
I think the context really helps. But I think while the context helps so that you understand what's happening and you're not like just laughing at the way they look or the way they talk, I think it is a reminder that many of the themes that were relevant 50 years ago when this was first made are still relevant now. Maybe not exactly a direct line parallel, but there's a lot of the themes are there. Even just things like the players who don't know, am I going to have a job next year? Am I getting traded? Is my contract going to be renewed? Like being a professional sports participant in any way at any level carries with it a certain amount of uncertainty unless you're at the top of the pack, which, and a minor league hockey, I got news for you. Most of them are not. And like, that's a struggle that continues to happen. And that's should be a good reminder to anyone who is an aspiring athlete, no matter how good you think you are in your high school or in your community, when you keep advancing in those levels to your state or your province or the nationals or the quadrant, whatever they want to call it, like there's your level of competition is going to get so much more difficult so quickly. So many people think that they're going to be the number one player in the NBA. Well, I got news for you. There can only be one number one, and there's a heck of a lot of people that think they're going to be professionals. And while you may be able to be a professional at some level, you need to be realistic about it and you need to understand the ups and downs. And I think this movie sort of, while it doesn't dwell on those things, those themes are there and those are still very relevant.
Definitely there's a legacy in this movie and it's been influential. No, you can see traces of this movie in things like Major League and Bull Durham and Goon. Like you can even see it in Kingpin and movies like that. So it's definitely had a legacy and a lot of hockey players still quote this movie. The Hanson brothers are still pop culture icons like 50 years later because the movie's not really just about hockey. It's about, like we said, entertainment and, I don't know, desperation, well, business and survival and identity. Just hockey makes the satire pop for me.
Yes,
so
definitely.
You know. Okay, so I got another segment for you, and this one is called
Netflix. More like this.
All right, so if you like this movie, if you enjoyed Slapshot, some other things that you might want to consider. The movies we've already mentioned, like Goon and Miracle and Mystery Alaska and Youngblood.
Yeah, other hockey movies are an easy sort of direct line for sure.
Even sports comedies, like we mentioned, Major League and Bull Durham, The Bad News Bears, I think, is one that stands out to me. Very 70s like this. I'm talking about the original. Tin Cup. I don't know if you ever watched that one, the golf one.
Oh yeah.
But there's other sports movies that also have similar attitudes to this. So things like North Dallas 40. Any Given Sunday. And even, do you remember the movie called The Wrestler?
Yes.
Very realistic, sort of like, bare bones kind of movie about wrestling, I think. And then also there's been some offbeat, like sort of sports team comedies like Dodgeball or Semi-Pro or even like Kingpin, like I mentioned. So I feel like this movie starts as a hockey comedy, but it actually turns into a satire of professional sports. It's a satire of working class, or at least a portrait of working class decline. And I think it's a commentary on how entertainment usually rewards the loudest and wildest behavior. So I feel like 50 years later, it's still funny, it's still quotable, and it feels relevant. So I think it's held up very, very well.
There was just sort of a tangential connection to what you were just saying. There was a prestige series. I think it was on Amazon, if I remember correctly. It was from 2021. It's called American Rust, and it stars Jeff Daniels and Maura Tierney, and it takes place in the same kind of community. It's like in working class America in the Rust Belt, where the town is sort of going under because the industry is not doing as well. And a lot of the economics are not working as well. Like as people lose jobs, they stop spending money. And then as they stop spending money, the stores start to close down. And while if I remember correctly, the story is around, I want to say it's around like a murder mystery or something, but it takes place in this sort of a community. And while the community is not the main focus of the story, it's a very important part. And a lot of the other storytelling that's happening is sort of like you can only tell that story in this environment. So again, if you're looking for just something that talks about that sort of struggles of middle America, American Rust was a good prestige series you may want to look up. It was quite good.
Good. And do you want to give it a rating out of 10?
I mean, my heart, I want to give it a really big number, but realistically, I'm probably going to go with an 8 out of 10.
I think 8 out of 10 as well. That's what I was thinking. So I think that's what it is. Okay, so what do you say on that note that we have some
fun with Caveman?
All right, my man, it's over to you. You got trivia. What do you have for us?
All right. This movie stars the iconic Paul Newman.
It does, yes.
I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions, and you have to tell me the famous person whose name is Paul that goes with this answer. So I want you to identify the famous Paul. All of them, it's their first name is Paul, not like someone whose last name is Paul. Simple. It's Paul, someone in all cases, all men. No trick questions, okay?
All right.
And I tried to specifically, where I could, give you hints that were around like their 80s or early 90s, whatever they were doing, because I know that's more your wheelhouse. I want to try and help you with these. Now, some of them, obviously, some of these Pauls are a little younger. Their careers are a little newer. So again, try to give you what I think are some pretty big hints in the trivia. So let me read the whole thing, and in each one, when you think you know, let me know. And I got a lot of these, so we'll try and get through them at a reasonable pace here. Right. So famous Pauls, first one. Okay.
Yes.
Before taking off his makeup in 1983, this frontman co-wrote a 1979 disco-infused rock anthem that became his band's biggest international hit of the decade. He later spent the closing years of the 90s swapping his leather and rhinestones for a literal mask on stage in Toronto as the titular Phantom of the Opera.
It's got to be Paul Stanley.
Yes, Paul Stanley. All right. Name this Paul.
All right.
This director defined late 80s and 90s sci-fi satire by putting a cyborg cop on the streets of Detroit and sending psychic soldiers to fight giant bugs.
Oh, is it Paul Verhoeven?
Yes, it is. Nice.
That was RoboCop and
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers, yeah.
Yep. All right. Name this Paul. A few years before he started racing imported sports cars in 2001, he played a 1950s high school basketball star trapped in a black and white television world and a varsity quarterback dealing with a legendary whipped cream bikini.
Was it Paul Walker?
Yes, it was.
Was that The White Shadow? Was he in that show? Is that
No, he was in Pleasantville.
Oh, in Pleasantville.
He was one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the whipped cream bikini was from Varsity Blues.
Okay, it was the racing that got me. So
yeah.
Okay.
All right, name this Paul. After a highly publicized split from his longtime musical partner, he resurrected his career in 1986 by traveling to South Africa to record a landmark multi-Grammy-winning album featuring backing vocals by Ladysmith Black Mambazo.
One of my favorite artists of all time, Paul Simon.
Yes, it is. That album is fantastic, by the way.
Graceland.
Oh, so good.
So good.
And it's got the video for Call Me Out with Chevy Chase. It's one of my favorite videos, too.
Great. Love it.
All right. Name this Paul.
Okay.
This acclaimed auteur used the late 1990s to chronicle the golden age of the San Fernando Valley adult film industry, followed immediately by an ambitious mosaic-style drama where frogs literally rain from the California sky.
Paul Thomas Anderson?
Yes. See, I knew you do well.
I'm doing well.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Now I got a few newer ones. So
okay. Now we're going to get
these are going to get a little tougher.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
For me.
Before voicing an AI and marrying a witch in the MCU, this British actor spent the early 2000s playing a fictionalized gambling addict version of Geoffrey Chaucer and acting as a terrifying, self-flagellating monk in a massive conspiracy thriller.
Oh, man, what is his name? The movie is, he did the, what's his name? He was also in The Knight's Tale, I remember. Oh, Paul Bettany.
That's one where he plays Jeffrey Chaucer.
Paul Bettany.
Yeah. Yes, Paul Bettany. All right.
Yeah.
Nice. I was worried you weren't going to get that one.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to pull it out.
He is best known to 80s audiences as the smooth-talking, linen suit-wearing archaeologist who routinely stole historical artifacts and credit from Indiana Jones.
Oh, Paul Freeman.
Yes.
Belloc.
Yes. All right. Name this Paul.
Okay.
This British blue-eyed soul singer dominated the mid-80s charts, famously asking listeners to lay their hats at his house, and provided the opening spoken word line for the historical 1984 charity single, Do They Know It's Christmas?
Was it Paul Young?
Yes, it was. Look at you. You're just killing this here.
Yes.
All right. Name this Paul. This legendary character actor is cemented in the 80s pop culture as the quintessential stressed out dad, most famously when he forgot his daughter's milestone 16th birthday. He also made a very brief appearance in the movie we just reviewed tonight, Slapshot.
Yes, it was Paul Dooley.
Yes, yeah.
Also the dad in Breaking Away. Oh, he was so good. And in Popeye. Oh, he's so Strange Brew. You can go on forever.
All right.
Good. So good.
All right. Name this Paul.
Okay.
This commanding actor faced down a cyborg assassin as a doomed LAPD lieutenant in 1984. But sci-fi fans know him best for playing a Starfleet captain who fell victim to an ear-burrowing SETI eel in 1982.
Oh, that was from Wrath of Khan, Paul Winfield.
Yes. All right. Wasn't sure if you'd get that one.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
T2.
Name this Paul.
T2 was the other one, right?
Yeah. Terminator, the first one, yeah.
Terminator,
all right.
The first one, sorry. Yeah.
Name this Paul. He introduced his most famous gray-suited, red bow tie-wearing alter ego to the world in a 1985 cross-country road trip to find his stolen bicycle.
Oh, it's Paul Rubens.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right. Name this Paul.
Okay.
The world-famous for an earlier decade, he spent the 80s collaborating with Stevie Wonder on Racial Harmony and Michael Jackson on a hit about a dispute over a girl.
It's got to be Paul McCartney.
Yeah, Paul McCartney. Good line. All right, we've got a few more to go.
Okay.
Name this Paul. This actor went toe-to-toe with Daniel Day-Lewis in a 2007 oil boom masterpiece playing twin brothers, one a quiet salesman, the other a fanatical preacher, before later terrifying Gotham City as a green-masked, puzzle-obsessed serial killer.
It's Paul Dano.
Yes, it is.
I remember just recently there was a big dispute with Tarantino saying he wasn't a very good actor, but I thought he was quite good.
Yeah. All right. Name this Paul. This actor parlayed a series of 1980s Australian tourism commercials into a global superstardom by playing a bushman who famously explained the difference between a small pocket knife and a real knife to a New York mugger.
That's not a knife. This is a knife. It's Paul Hogan.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right. Got 3 more to go.
Okay.
Name this Paul. Before donning a shrinking suit in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this actor spent the early 2000s playing Mike Hannigan, the man who finally tamed Phoebe Buffay on Friends, and advised a celibate worker that 60% of the time, it works every time.
He still looks young today. It's Paul Rudd.
Yeah, that is. Nice. All right. Name this Paul. He spent the 90s navigating a highly successful neurotic marriage in Manhattan on NBC, but 80s movies buffs know him best as the treacherous corporate Weyland-Yutani suit who tried to smuggle deadly alien organisms past Ellen Ripley.
Sorry, I know him best from Beverly Hills Cop. It's Paul Reiser.
It is Paul Reiser.
He was
All right.
also fantastic in something newer. Would you be surprised? I know this. The Kaminsky Method. He was in that. Oh, he's fantastic in that show. So.
All right. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
All
really,
right.
really
Last one.
Okay.
Name this Paul. While he capped off the 90s playing a loyal radio sidekick to Howard Stern and a dramatic foil to Jim Carrey's Andy Kaufman, he truly broke out by playing an intensely neurotic wine snob school teacher on a chaotic trip through California's wine country.
Oh, in the Howard Stern movie, he was Pig Vomit. It was Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
Yes. I think I got every single one of them.
You got every single one. Yeah, I think there were 17.
I'm the greatest of all time. I'm the greatest of all time.
Good job. Good job. Nice. All right.
Very cool. Oh, man, I did so well. Okay, so this week, this was my movie, so it's over to you. So you get to pick a movie for next time we come back. So what do you want to do?
Well, the very last question we just had, the answer was Paul Giamatti. We're going to go to that very movie. We're going to go to Howard Stern's Private Parts, 1997.
Oh, that's
starring Howard
one.
Stern as himself and Paul Giamatti and Mary McCormick, and obviously the rest of Howard Stern's cast is in it as well.
Yeah, Robin
it's also got Allison Janney and a lot of other actors sort of make some small appearances. But this I was talking to someone about this recently, and I thought, you know what, I haven't watched it in a long time, and I remember you and I talked about doing it on the pod a long time ago, and then we just never got around to it. So let's give it a watch for next week.
Time to get around to it. So next time we come back, we're going to do Private Parts from 1997, the Howard Stern movie. And I think that's a great idea. So until then, I'm Chris McBrien on behalf of myself and Derek Myers. We want to say thanks for listening to Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations.
Thanks for listening to Pop Goes Your World. You can contact Chris and Derek at popgoesyourworld.com. Please take a minute and review the podcast on iTunes or wherever you download and listen to the show.